Spend your afternoon in the company of friends. It's Afternoons with Matt and Rochelle on Vision Christian Radio.
You're on Afternoons with Matt and Rochelle on Vision Christian Radio all across the nation.
And originally from Australia, Grant Norsworthy is a name we associate with Christian bands PC3 and Sonic Flood. Grant has achieved significant success as a Christian musician, including a Grammy nomination and a Dove Award. Now he's launched a new ministry called More Than Music Mentor, a ministry with the goal of instructing, sharing expertise, experience, and equipping church instrumentalists, singers, and techies towards excellence and authentic worship. Grant joins us now to tell us more. And Grant, it's the evening in Nashville. How's it looking from your end?
Well, it's very dark over here, 10 p.m. at the moment, but we've got a full moon. But it's great to be talking with you guys and the rest of Australia. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for staying up past your bedtime to chat with us, mate. You got three little kids. How are they going?
Oh, they're doing really well. I've got an 8-year-old Max and a 3-year-old Marcus and a 20-month-old Casper who's got a black eye right now.
Oh.
Takes a bit of explaining, but he slipped over on the table outside our sort of big slab of wood table, and he took the corner of that with just outside of his left eye. It looks terrible, but he doesn't care. He's still climbing everything and jumping off the walls and doing whatever he does.
Oh, good to hear. Now, for those who know you from PC3 and from Sonic Flood and other solo projects you've done, we play your music here on Vision, and we play your little God spots that we play as well, and things like that.
Oh, great.
What's the latest? What's the latest projects you're working on? Anything exciting coming up or anything?
Yeah, well, I've just decided to get a whole lot more, I guess, intentional about this mentoring and training and equipping church musicians, singers and techies, as Rochelle has explained there. You know, I've done a little bit of that over the years, but I just really feel like that this is what I want to be doing right now, and just getting a bit more passionate or more organised about it. I've got a website now, morethanmusicmentor.com, and there's a whole bunch of videos there that I'd like to think would be really valuable to church musicians. And when I say church musicians, that's a really wide spectrum of different sorts of people. But I'm thinking especially about the band sort of thing: drums, bass, electric guitar, keyboards. It's easy for a band like that to be, I guess, sometimes a bit confused about what we're doing, especially at a church service. We sometimes fall into the trap of thinking maybe we're doing some sort of concert performance. I've got quite a bit of experience of doing that, with PC3 and even with Sonic Flood and different bands. And I really think there needs to be a very different mindset. Am I here to play and sing for people, or am I here to invite them to sing along with me as an expression of worship to God? And there needs to be a very clear distinction in our minds. And I think there's actually quite a few different mistakes that we can make if we don't have that clearly in our minds. So I'm trying to find ways of presenting that to people in a way that's really useful. There's a bunch of free videos at that website, morethanmusicmentor.com. Plus, I do some on-site training as well, going and actually spending time with the team, listening to their musicians, their singers, meeting their technicians, and hopefully coaching them to better results there.
It sounds like a fascinating idea, and one that's really needed. More Than Music Mentor is what it's called. And, it's also a biblical concept, isn't it? I think sometimes we don't utilize the idea of mentors enough in our Christian walks. It's extremely biblical. We see biblical figures all through the Bible training up the next person to take their place after them so that we can spur each other on. And if we don't train each other up, then we can get lost and we can go sideways. So tell us more about the program itself. What's on offer for musicians and people who are aspiring to lead worship?
Right. Well, I call it More Than Music Mentor because I'm really passionate about music and how better to utilize it in the life of the church, the Christian church, and how we can use this music as an expression of worship. But I call it More Than Music Mentor because I'm really passionate to point people towards the worship of God, or the showing the worth of God, to get to what that word really means, that continues after the songs are finished and after we leave the auditorium. They're showing the worth of God in every moment of every day. So behind everything I do with coaching musicians, singers, technicians, there's that thought. Hey, look, this music is important. It's perhaps more important than we realise, and I want to mentor you through this idea of using music more effectively. But I want to point you to the showing the worth of God that's bigger than music, that's bigger than songs, that's bigger than that experience that can happen when the people of faith gather together to sing songs, as wonderful as that can be. So the services are really, there's really twofold. One is the online resources that I offer, and at the moment I've got seven of, nearly 30 videos that I've shot being shared right there right now. They're things like, how do we help the drums be a more appropriate volume level? How do we choose the right key for a song that we're going to try and invite a congregation to sing? What should be the emphasis on harmony singing? What can we do about electric guitarists and helping them to play their role more effectively? It's very, very practical, very, very simple, but always with this idea of, well, what we are doing, what notes we're playing, how loud or how soft we play, our choices as musicians, as singers, they need to be dictated to us by why we're doing this. Am I here to get my ego stroked? Am I here to do a sort of a Christianese concert performance? Or am I offering the church a service that helps us connect more deeply with each other and with God? And that why, that's the why that I wanted to speak about. So there's those online resources. I'd love people to check that out through morethemusicmentor.com. But I also do the on-site training, actually coming and visiting. And yes, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, but I'm planning to come to Australia later this year and hopefully do a few of these, either, just a 2 to 4 hour sort of evening workshop or a full Saturday sort of workshop that really goes a lot deeper, or maybe even a whole weekend conference that involves like a Friday night, a Saturday workshop, and involvement in the Sunday services or whenever you have your services. And then maybe like a free concert or a family night of praise event on Sunday night, something like that. I'd love to be contacted through More Than Music Mentor if anyone, through morethanmusicmentor.com if anyone's interested in any of that. Yeah.
Well, Grant, I've met you here at the radio. I've had you do a Sunday night service at my church a while back. I know you're the real deal. I know you walk the walk as well as talk the talk. And I'm just curious about your mentoring with other Christian musicians. I had a pastor a while back quite cynically say to me, "Oh, mate, the Christian music scene, they're just as bad as the worldly music scene. They're all about fame. They're all about, there's all sorts of problems behind the scenes, but they just put on a good show when they get on stage." Now, I know that there are a lot of Christian musicians that are the real deal, that are genuine. As with any group of people, there's bound to be some fakes, and but it sounds to me like you're not just focusing on the technical musical aspects. You're also looking at challenging the heart of musicians as well. Tell us how you mentor people in that aspect.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And the two are really intertwined. I really think that the technical side of things, or the musical, artistic side, is totally intertwined with the theological or the devotional side of it. And it really needs to be. So, how do I do that? Well, I love being in touch with a lot of musicians and, spending time with them. But through these workshops, I'm finding that there's a platform there to really talk about some of these issues, and some of them aren't spoken about. Some of them are not spoken about enough. And the mentoring continues with remaining an on-call consultant to any sort of church leaders or team members who want to be in touch with me, whether that be through my Facebook, through email, or through a phone call, or through a Skype call. Yeah, there's quite a few people that I speak to and communicate with like that over the time. Yeah, it's great. It's a great thing to do. And I love to sing. I love to play music. I write songs. I love to perform songs for people. But you know what? I'm a little bit older than most of those aspiring musicians now. I'd like to think that I've got something of worth to pass on. I'm not trying to be a rock star for Jesus. I had my years of trying to do that. And there's something deeper and richer that I want to try and pass on. So hopefully some of the benefit of mistakes that I made, maybe even mistakes that bands that I was in made, but also some of the joys we experienced and some of the amazing discoveries that we almost stumbled across about God and how we had this amazing opportunity to worship Him and to live a life that's guided by Him and surrendered to Him, to be more accurate there. And you're right. There's people who can not be walking the walk and not talking the talk, but that's what we're talking about. There is a condition of the human heart, and we all fall short in those ways. I really believe now, sort of, that to be the realness that you described there, Matt. I'm really thankful that you noticed that about me, and I do try to be fair income, But the biggest step towards being fair income that I have found is to realise that I'm actually faking it a lot of the time, and I can't realise that I'm faking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I can't be the one that decides whether I'm being real or not. God's the only one who knows me truly. And I have to have faith in Him that He's guiding me towards more authenticity rather than less. And, that realisation, that, what? I'm not completely real ever, Like right now I'm hoping people think I'm insightful or got some sort of worthwhile thing to offer. And, why would I agree to have a phone call with you guys? Because I want people to like me more, and there's stuff in my human heart which is still not completely surrendered to God, and that's not great, but it's also okay, because we worship a God of grace and a God of forgiveness, and there's going to be time for perfection in eternity, but it's not yet.
Well, Grant, it really is an admirable thing, I think, that you're doing, because music has the power to sway the masses. We've seen it all through generations. Music's ability to touch our hearts, to embed itself into our life. There is definitely a godly connection between us and music, and when we can use it in the right context, in a way where our hearts really are glorifying God, well, that's going to be the best thing for everybody who hears the music that any musician out there plays. What Christian artist inspires you the most? A Christian artist who you would deem as somebody who is successfully a Christian musician walking with the Lord?
Oh gosh,
not to put you on the spot at all there.
No, that's quite all right. But
give you 3 seconds to think.
Past that question without mentioning my good mate Paul Coleman. Gee, he loves God, and he's honest about his failings, and he really has shifted and changed my thinking in a lot of ways. In the Paul Coleman trio in PC3, we were very intentional about doing our best to disciple one another. Not just playing a band together, but to disciple one another. And man, it was tough, but it was so rich as well. And I also would like to say I love what Switchfoot does. I love what John Foreman does, and I think there's a realness there and an artistic credibility, a value there about what he does, or about what John Foreman does and what Switchfoot does, that I really like a lot. But here's the thing about music, if we wouldn't mind sort of just stepping away from that a little, is, music speaks what cannot be expressed, soothes the mind and gives it rest, heals the heart and makes it whole, flows from heaven to the soul. And I spent a lot of years playing music from stages. Some of them small and some of them really, really big. Some of the audiences were small, some of the crowds were huge. And a lot of that motivation at that time was, I want to play songs that I think are cool, and I'm going to try and convince other people that they should like what I like. And when you have some success at that, as I guess I have, there's a certain amount of joy to it. But there's a bigger joy with music. To be part of a sound, to be part of a musical expression that helps people connect more deeply with each other and helps those people connect more deeply with God, and to become invisible as you do that, is a far greater joy. Is a far greater joy and so much more rewarding. And that's what I'm trying to pass on to young musicians, younger younger musicians and singers and technicians. There's something that's much more rich there than playing in front of a lot of people who think you're cool because they like your songs.
Well, Grant, it's been inspirational to catch up with you again. And once more, if people want to find out more, they can go to the website morethanmusicmentor.com. Also, you're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, although they can find you on social media. Inspirational to hear your story and what you're doing. Now passing the baton, mentoring the next generation of musos and people in that scene. It's so good to hear from you. Make sure you come and visit us when you're down under later this year, hey?
Yeah, love to. All right, mate. Thanks a lot. Bye, Rochelle.
Thanks, Grant.
Before you go, thanks for listening. There's lots more great audio on demand, or you can listen to us live at visionradio.org.au. And remember, Vision is listener supported. Your donation, large or small, will help us continue connecting faith to life for hundreds of thousands of people across Australia and around the world. Learn more or donate today at visionradio.org.au.